basically, or I understand restitution is different, but if it's $15,000.
No, I understand. We'll schedule a trial date, and I'll schedule an out-of-court compliance date for the restitution.
August 21 for trial.
Right, August 21st for a trial date. And any restitution, and if the restitution figure is not provided by this date, then I assume there will not be a request for restitution.
Yes, Your Honor. I will represent to the court that we've made efforts to try to collect this information.
Maybe they don't want the money, so that's fine.
Thank you.
I assume that you'd be satisfied, I assume you'd be satisfied that without being, that the restitution is ordered waived if they don't produce the figure by the next date?
Well, the next day being, look, I would ask for like 2 weeks before that next.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna give it to you. I'm gonna give an out-of-court compliance date for the restitution.
Yes, I'd be satisfied then. It's really just, how do I advise my client how to proceed? But yes, that would be.
All right. I'm gonna do it probably a lot before that date, August 21st. I'm gonna have it, July 27th. And I'll indicate on here the restitution figures to be provided by 7/27, or restitution is waived. Okay. So we'll see you on August 21st, 9 o'clock in the morning. That's in session F on the 4th floor. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ron. Thank you, Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you, Mr. Clerk.
Elliot Echeverria.
Mr. Short here, back here.
Mr. Echeverria and
Mr. Short here, back.
motion on. No, that is not the green sheet you like, but I did not know until it was too late.
That's okay. Right, so you're almost asking for a guilty file for 90 days. I can't place it, well, I guess.
So I asked for cost to keep it consistent with 5 and 6. It seemed to make sense, but I'll.
Okay, Mr. Werman.
Sir, can you please raise your right hand to be sworn? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this matter, the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, so, Mr. Echeverria, is this your signature on the back of this green sheet? Did you go over all the rights that were on here with your lawyer? Did you have the benefit of an interpreter when you went over the rights?
Yes.
I'm going to ask you, listen to the prosecutor. He's going to recite some facts, and then I'm going to come back and ask you some questions.
Thank you, Your Honor. Vincent Good for the Commonwealth. Your Honor, the facts of this case come from a Manchester Police Department report. On December 24th, 2022, officers with the Manchester Police Department on routine patrol queried a license plate on a car in front of them. The license plate itself, but not the vehicle, was reported back as stolen from New Haven, Connecticut. Officers conducted a motor vehicle stop and discovered the operator to be the defendant before you, Mr. Elliot Echeverria, through a Connecticut ID. After speaking with Mr. Echeverria and querying the plate, Mr. Echeverria had stated he had purchased the vehicle that he was driving from Connecticut, but and the officers learned that he did not have a license. After querying the plate, they discovered that the vehicle, querying the vehicle, they discovered the vehicle was unregistered and uninsured, and that there was no, there was no additional license information for the defendant. Your Honor, those are essentially the facts of the case. The Commonwealth would seek to prove at trial. Thank you.
So the receiving stolen property was the plate?
It was the physical plate. The vehicle itself was not stolen, just the plate.
Sir, you hear those facts?
Yes.
Are you agreeing those are true? and that you're admitting there are sufficient facts that if you went to trial, you could be found guilty of driving an unlicensed motor vehicle, uninsured motor vehicle, and receiving stolen property under $1,200.
Yes.
Commonwealth, I'll hear you on disposition.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, the Commonwealth would ask that you adopt its recommendation in the case. The Commonwealth formed this recommendation while balancing the criminal act at hand, the purpose for the statutes, and the facts of the case. Primarily, our recommendation is based off of his lengthy III. I understand that these traffic violations do not have a great correlation with the amount of offenses that he has from out of state. He stands before you with no Massachusetts record. And again, I understand that there was no crime of violence, that there's no allegation of negligent operation, and that this defendant had purchased the vehicle, but the plates itself were stolen. But because of the defendant's board of probation record, we would submit that the defense's recommendation of a continuation without a finding is not appropriate, as that would be to preserve the defendant's record. And despite the fact that he has no Massachusetts record, the Commonwealth would submit that because of the size and involvement of his out-of-state record, it would be inappropriate to afford this defendant a quaff. So we are asking for the guilty probation on the receiving stolen property. That plate was returned to the state, and for the uninsured motor vehicle. As to the files, Your Honor, I'm asking for a slightly longer period than normal for the guilty files. I would ask that the court oppose them. Thank you.
I'll hear you.
Thank you, Your Honor. Just briefly, by way of biography, Mr. Echevarria grew up in Aguililla, Puerto Rico. He's been in the mainland, up north here, New England anyway, since about 1980. A lot of it was spent in Connecticut. As of, I think, this fall, he's been in Gloucester. He has 2 daughters there. One of whom has a family. He's also homeless. He's unable to stay with either daughter because of their own housing situations, which would jeopardize those. Mr. Yadgood has actually gone into my other reasons and rationale for asking the court for a quaff. These are not violent crimes. There's no element of danger to the motoring or pedestrian public or anything of the sort. He's presently, as I said, he's seeking shelter. He's got nothing up here in Massachusetts, and I am asking for some clemency on this in view of his personal situation presently and the fact that he's got nothing in Massachusetts. I do acknowledge there is a III. Obviously, it's probably right in front of you, but I think it's not unreasonable to ask somebody, he's approaching 60 now, it might not be a first chance in his life, but it's a first chance before a Massachusetts court for a quaff. And it'll be over before Christmas of next year. I think he'll succeed at it, and it's likely we won't see him again. For these reasons, Judge, I'm requesting the quaff. Or please do not exceed Mr. Yadgood's suggestion in any event.
Yeah, I mean, when I first looked at it, I'm like, why would I not go along with the defendant's recommendation? And then I looked at the III, which is, it would really almost make a joke of what a contained without a finding is given the out-of-state record. He's covered the whole plethora of various offenses. So I would impose the guilty file, I think, is a very reasonable recommendation if you want to take it. 90 days guilty filed on all matters, the criminal matters, and there's no further problems. And I would do I think Commonwealth was asking for guilty 6 months probation. I'm going to do a guilty file on the plate too. I would just make it straight across the board, guilty filed. Do you want to accept that?
I think you would, yes.
You need time to talk to him, or are you ready to do it now?
Sign off on the judge's ID.
You don't have to sign it anymore.
Oh, okay.
You want to accept that, sir?
Excuse me?
You want to accept what is being offered, which is that the case would be you'd be found guilty, but the matter be placed on file for a period of 90 days. If there's no further problems, the case will be closed. If there are further problems, you can come back in, and at least as to the receiving stolen property, you get 2.5 years, so there has to be no further problems for the next 3 months.
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. So you understand that you're now pleading guilty to these 3 offenses?
Yes.
I need to ask some questions to make sure you're doing this freely and voluntarily, and that you understand the consequence of what you're doing by pleading guilty. At the point you do not understand what I'm saying, please let me know. How old are you? How far have you gone to school?
High school.
And was that in Puerto Rico?
Yes.
Do you suffer any psychiatric or mental health issues that interfere with your ability to understand what's going on today?
Yes.
You have mental health issues?
No.
Okay. And have you had any alcohol, drugs, or medication in the past 24 hours?
No. No.
Anybody force you, threaten, and made any promise in exchange for you to offer this plea of guilty?
No.
Have you gone over with your lawyer what the Collins would have to prove to convict you of these crimes?
Yes.
Has he explained to the maximum punishment you're facing, any possible defenses you may have, as well as any immigration consequences as a result of pleading guilty?
Yes.
Are you satisfied with his advice, and do you believe that he's acting in your best interest?
Yes.
Counsel, have you gone over the elements of the offense and maximum punishment that he's facing, any possible defenses he may have, as well as any immigration consequences as a result of pleading guilty?
Yes, Your Honor.
You satisfied he's offering to plead freely, willingly, and voluntarily upon the same of the consequences?
Yes, Your Honor.
Sir, as a result of pleading guilty, you're waiving certain rights. Most important of those rights is your right to a trial. You'd be entitled to a trial before a judge or a jury. Trial before a judge would be one person, a judge, who would decide whether you're guilty or not guilty of the offenses. A trial before a jury would be 6 people chosen from the community at random, and their verdict of decision, whether it be guilty or not guilty, would have to be unanimous. Do you understand that you're waiving your right to a trial?
Yes.
At that trial, you confront and question to Attorney Cutting any of the witnesses called by the Commonwealth. You could call witnesses to testify in your behalf at the trial. And you could testify on your own behalf at the trial if you wanted to, but you wouldn't have to, because you're presumed to be innocent, and the burden of proof always rests on the prosecutor to prove you guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. You never have to prove yourself innocent. You understand you're waiving those rights? By pleading guilty, you're also waiving any motions you could file, such as a motion to suppress or exclude evidence that may have been seized illegally, a motion to dismiss one or all of the charges. If those motions have already been heard by a court and denied, you're waiving the right to appeal. To deny those motions, you're also waiving your right to remain silent.
Yes.
And finally, you have to understand that if you are not a citizen of the United States, a conviction in this matter could result in you being deported, excluded from the United States, or denied naturalization. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Any questions for your lawyer or for me?
No.
I find the plea of guilty is offered freely, willingly, and voluntarily, the full understanding of the consequences, and there's a factual basis for it. We'll pose the disposition as indicated. What's the 90-day date?
90-day date is 9/13/2023.
And there's still a $150 victim witness fee, $150 attorney's fee, and there'll be a victim witness fee. We're gonna give you the 90 days to pay it. Just make sure it's paid on or before the date that we give you. If it isn't paid before, then come back and ask for more time. Otherwise, a warrant will issue for your arrest. Just listen to the clerk. He's gonna read it into the record.
So, sir, it's docket 2148 of the year 2022. It's to count 1, 4, 5, and 6. Guilty filed for 90 days. So that is until 9/13/2023. To count 2, responsible filed. Count 3, not responsible.
All right, good luck, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor.
And just write that down, the date for him that he has to pay
Yeah,
that.
9/13, I'll do it.
Thank you.
And I'll walk him down to
Thomas Matson.
Commonwealth.
Mr. O'Hare, you're back.
Yes, Your Honor. Try to make our.
Mr. Batson, just take your hands out of your pockets if you would. Thank you. Yes.
Judge, this gentleman's cases have been continued.
Yes.
On this case, the police took possession of two of his mobile phones.
Right.
I don't know that there's a search warrant anywhere.
Separate mobile phones and the ones that were ordered back in
Yeah,
January?
that's what the problem is. He has two cases pending, and his first case, they returned his phones. Now, this case that we're talking about, they still have possession of his phones. From my reading of the police report, any information that they needed to support the complaint, they already have. So I'm looking to get the return of his phones because, you know.
Mr. Yager, do you need the phones at all?
Your Honor, if I may just have a moment, I understand that this was related to the second case, harassment.
The harassment case, 262?
Yes.
What was the date we gave for the other return date? No, that was 7. What was it sooner than that? By 7/18 date?
Your Honor, I would just ask that you take no action at this time. It appears that the phones in question were used to take a video of a motor vehicle accident that was related to the harassment prevention order. The individual whom he was alleged to have filmed had the HPO against him. And from what I can gather from the facts that these items, that's what that's related to. I will reach out to the detective on this case and
What I'd be inclined to do is, I'll set it without, I'll order that they be returned on that next day, that July 18th date, without prejudice. If for some reason you need them on an evidentiary basis, then you can ask the court to reconsider. But I would assume if there's a search warrant that's been executed on them, that the information's already been downloaded. Something, Mr. O'Hare?
May I suggest to the court that all the information related to the case has been live streamed and is out there for the public to see everywhere. So the need to possess the phones now is long gone.
But I can't, in theory, no, I mean, you say that there could be something on there that's perhaps incriminating that would not have been necessarily live streamed. So I can't necessarily prohibit them from saying that because you represent that it's all been live streamed, that means that they have to accept that as fact. So it would seem to me that it should have been downloaded and taken care of by now already. So I'll give them to the July, what was the next date?
July 18th, Your Honor.
The July 18th date. So I'm going to allow it without prejudice. And so if you get more information, Mr. Yagud, that somehow you,
Yes.
on an evidentiary basis, still need the phones, then give notice to Mr. O'Hare and we'll schedule it for a hearing. But I'm going to order that they be returned on or before that July 18th date.
Thank you, Your Honor.
That's adequate?
My response to that, Judge, is clearly I accept your decision, but if the DA is aware now of whether or not...
It doesn't have to be that date. I mean, if you're able to get it returned sooner than that, I assume the Commonwealth will endeavor to do whatever they can to return property they no longer need.
Yes, Your Honor. Your Honor, I'll make best efforts. Yes, Your Honor. I'm relatively new to the case, but I'll pick it up quickly. Thank you.
Well, my inartfully phrased question was, do they have a search warrant? Do we know that at all?
I'm not going to do this here.
Okay.
Okay, this is a motion to return property. It sounds like probably not, but I'll just indicate what I'm doing on the record, on the motion, okay?
Thank you, Judge. Thank you, Mr. Clerk.
All set. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you, Mr. Clerk. You're right, but because of the fact that she's got 2 out-of-state warrants, I would feel more comfortable if we would up it to 25. I don't know that Judge Chapman will order it, but I'd like to request that, especially because the FBI is after her as well. If he comes up with a list, we can call him, or if I would call him as soon as I can. If he's been blowing up the place. Yeah.
What's the database of fence? Fence, yeah.
Yeah, there's a couple of no, she's being held either way, but like, the thing is, we actually do want it. The reason that I'd rather go very high is because this woman is an extreme flight risk, and I don't think $1,000 is going to do it. Like, I'd feel more comfortable asking for maybe between 25 and 5. But, and I'm happy to do the argument, Abby, I just haven't had a chance to look through it. I'm jam right now. But,
Madison Swift. That's docket 1019 of year 2023 by way of arrest out of Danvers on 6/14.